Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators, friends, foe, family, cousins, and even those that are trying to argue with us. I hope everybody is going to learn something today. So please smash that like, hit that subscribe button, double check that you're subscribed. And we depend on you guys to share this valuable information out there in a world where we are no longer allowed to. So tonight's going to be kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, but at the end of the day, this week I feel is one of those weeks where we need to be looking at everything else except for what they want us to be seeing. Uh, not to take away from anything going on in the world and the crisis and the domination of the news cycle with the election events as they're occurring in the United States, but there's a lot going on elsewhere, and it's been really difficult. I got to admit, the last couple of days to try and sort through to find stuff that's relevant, important, or even interesting that isn't all Trump centric. And like I said, not to take anything away from the biggest event in American history, recently at least. But there's a lot of shenanigans that are going on elsewhere, and we're going to spend this week trying to squeeze some of that out of the smoke, mirrors, and shenanigans. Hey, Billy, and hey, Patricia, good to see you guys here. We've been having technical issues like I'm not used to. I'm used to, them trying to make my life miserable here doing what I do. But exactly, Ali's dad, head on a swivel. There's so much going on, and it's kind of a balancing act between bringing you guys stuff that is important, but doesn't seem to be, or it's not necessarily impactful on things that are stealing our attention, triggering people's emotions. This week is a highly emotionally and charged period. So absolutely, heads on a swivel. I want to make sure that everybody, to remind everybody and some new folks that come along, that this is our What's Up Canada Rumble page. This is primarily where you can find what we do every Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Central. I noticed that a lot of people, they click on the latest show, and so I see that there's hundreds of views. People are looking forward to it, but then when it comes showtime, we don't seem to see those people here. So I just want to remind everybody to smash the subscribe button, double click the bells, make sure that you guys are getting notifications. And when you guys do tune in, you can find the thumb underneath of said videos. I'll pull one up here just to show everybody. Trying not to get the endless doom screen going, but hit those green thumb buttons. That is what helps us get seen by everybody. This, by the way, yesterday was it was a treasure chest of bombs of information, truth bombs, that to connect people to to understand more of the insanity that's going on. But the real gold, guys, is what do we got going here? The real gold is over on Substack. You can see that here. There. This is where all of the receipts, all of the documents, everything that we cover and talk about on the show, if I talk about it or brought it up on the show, the receipts will be here, the links, the documents, everything, the graphics. So if you guys can only access one or have the ability to share one, Substack, sharing Substack is still not forbidden on Facebook. So that's a good place to start for helping get people more informed, more connected with the shenanigans and the insanity going on. Yeah, Turd's new gun grab. We haven't got exactly a confirmation on what's coming up with that, but you do know this prime minister, just like every other globalist, they will never let a good crisis go to waste. So we're going to set up the stage on some of that by with some updates on what's going on in Farquaad Fantasyland, and we'll kind of be watching for that. Hey Todd, good to see somebody over on YouTube. Yeah, I don't champion YouTube much anymore, simply because this is like the fifth channel on YouTube. But the interesting thing about this YouTube channel that I've got here right now is they still govern my live streams, but when I post them on Substack and shares it automatically to YouTube, Spotify, as a podcast, they don't intervene. Like, it just does not make sense to me. But it's good to see that somebody's over there on YouTube. Hey, Esky Dogs, good to see you over there. Esky Dogs is a familiar in the Wendy Bell morning streams and the Battleground with Sean Parnell. Those people are at the heart of what's going on in the U.S. And part of the community. So that's the one thing that I want everybody to know here is we have a community, not an audience. I tell people that when they come on as guests. It's very kitchen table talk. But we talk about the real stuff. We try to stay away from the emotional triggers, the rage bait, the he said, she said, and trying to create a higher standard of truth, news, and commentary out there. So this is where I'm trying to build this platform with a little bit of a different content model, where trying to raise the bar a little bit, understanding that as this legacy media collapses and dies, there's so much opportunity for us out here that want to be people that are the trusted voices out there. And it's I've learned a lot in my 5 years of doing this, and I'd like to think that I'm a bit of a pioneer, whether people will admit it or not. I'm kind of one of the gray hairs doing this, and this is where we're at in the opportunity of recreating a new media environment that can be trustworthy, is not of the same biased nonsense that we got in the old mercenary media. Yes, absolutely. Check out WBR Radio and Battleground with Sean Parnell. You find them both on Rumble as well. I make time out of my day to at least have them listening in on those, because those guys are just like me. They're out there doing this because they're called to, they're compelled to, regardless of what the establishment wants to throw at us. We will not be silenced. We will not surrender. We will resist until there is no possibility to resist anymore. Thank you, Brian's Dogs. I do have a unique presence. I like to think I do. So thank you guys, for all of you guys. Hey, Allie's Paper, Allie Sapper. I feel I didn't want to get into the habit of doing this because I feel embarrassed about butchering people's handles and stuff. So looks like my dashboard's going to be giving me grief all day here today, but adapt, improvise, and overcome. We'll run with it. So tonight we're going to start with a little clip from Street Politics Canada. We're going to start getting into some of the troubles that Lord Farquaad is enduring, and then we'll get into some of the liberties that he is taking, the things that he is doing that you are not going to really hear about in mainstream media. So with this Street Politics Canada platform, guys, I don't know if it's AI generated. Their stories are you can, for me, I find that I can pretty much get the story in the first minute before they go into the maintenance that they do, their promotions, whatever it is for their platform. It's an artificially generated voice, so which I have a hard time listening to. So I won't make you all listen to it either, but they're kind of on the tip of tickling the truth, and you can usually get the first minute, the meat of what they're going to deliver in the first minute. So we'll start with this one here, about more troubles in paradise for Lord Farquaad.
A top Trudeau supporter just totally abandoned ship and refused to defend Justin when grilled about whether he's an asset or liability. When CBC asked Minister Francois Philippe Champagne point blank if Trudeau is helping or hurting the Liberals, he completely dodged endorsing him. Even Trudeau's loyal supporters are fleeing his sinking ship. Instead of praising his boss, the squirmy minister gave a non-answer when pressed repeatedly on Trudeau being an asset or liability. He knows Justin is a problem at this point. You could see the panic in Champagne's eyes as he awkwardly muttered vague spin about Trudeau's leadership. But he stopped short of calling the failing PM an asset, even on the government's own partisan propaganda network. This is a massive red flag. The Liberals are so done with walking PR disaster Trudeau. They want to quietly dump their damaged leader before he drags their whole party down in flames. But delusional Trudeau still thinks he's a golden boy and plans to selfishly cling to power for years while his team cringes. He's oblivious to Canadians desperately wanting to eject him from office. Welcome back to Street Politics.
And that pretty much nails it in a minute. Exactly, encompassing the dumpster fire that is federal politics in Ottawa. And as this spin keeps going in Ottawa, Trudeau is no different than Biden. They come from the exact same clone trooper detachment, and they tyrants will never gracefully exit stage left. They must be removed, and they will refuse to be removed until there is absolutely not a snowball's hope in Hades that they can carry on. So this is exactly where Trudeau is stuck at in his own delusional utopia, and he's refusing to read the tea leaves or the writing on the wall. But we're gonna cover some undeniable facts that the Liberal government, and there's so many of them, these little cracks in this dam of this new world progressive rule, international rules based order, that are coming apart at the seams, and we're starting to see daylight through the middle of it in this. Yeah, I was being facetious, sarcastic, whatever you want to call it. But at this point, I'm actually encouraging Trudeau to stay on board as prime minister. Why? Because if he continues on his current trajectory, I believe it would become the extinction level event for the NDP and the Progressive Liberal Party of Canada. So carry on, Mr. Farquaad. But we'll hear what Brian Lilly has to say here for a couple of minutes. And although I don't always agree, I would say I would agree with Brian Lilly about 50% of the time. He is an establishment reporter, no doubt about that. But he does at least give, in my opinion, a fair and relatively unbiased take on some of these things. What do I mean by that is that he kind of says everything with a grain of salt, so that he doesn't corner himself into stuff. So I give him credit for that. That's what media is supposed to do, even at that level. Try to be unbiased to the best of their ability and release the facts as they see them in that moment. So we'll hear from Brian here for a couple of minutes.
Justin Trudeau's bad polling numbers and even worse polling numbers for those who would replace him. Hi, I'm Brian Lilly, political columnist for the Toronto Sun. We've been hearing for months now about the double-digit lead that the Conservatives have over Justin Trudeau's Liberals. Well, the latest polling from Abacus Data shows a 20-point lead for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives over Justin Trudeau and his Liberals. Now, that's the national number. When you break it down regionally, let's see. You've got the Conservatives with 39% support over 35% support for the Liberals in Atlantic Canada. In Quebec, you've got the Conservatives just around 20%. That's just not that far behind the Liberals at 23%. You've got a 47% support for the Conservatives in Ontario versus 26%. It's just a wash when you get through the prairies. And even in British Columbia, the Conservatives are nearing 50% voter support. Well, turns out that the Liberals are now hanging their hat on the fact that not that many people know Pierre Poilievre. They don't know him. Didn't you see that Abacus poll? It showed 1 in 3 Canadians could not name him when shown a picture of him, compared to only 2% who didn't know who Justin Trudeau was.
Now, I want to unpack a couple of these points before they get too far away. Canada is, we've had this situation for a while where we've got a minority government only in power because of a coalition between Mr. Muppet Meat Sinky Pants there, and I can't even use their names straight anymore because they're such a laughing stock, and unfortunately the rest of the world is pretty much looking at Canada the same way. So that at this point, but now we're seeing this same deterioration of their control and power and influence in the UK and in France. Those two specifically are now in pretty much the exact same situation Canada has been for a number of years, where they have their power has eroded to they are barely clinging on with minority governments dependent on coalitions with communist or fascist entities in order to maintain their grasp on those particular nations. So the reason I wanted to bring up that particular point between those three is I'm fully convinced that 2024 is the year that humanity wins or becomes an endangered species on the way to extinction. So that was kind of why, Billy, I wanted to bring up those points there. And I have faith in humanity. At the end of the day, God wins. I know this. I don't have to be religious to understand this. I've read through enough millennia of history to understand the cycle, and that's mostly why I'm so accurate on assessing things, is by understanding history and knowing that it doesn't repeat exactly, but it sure sings in harmony. Mostly because we've moved up from drums to all kinds of techno instruments and technology to wash, rinse, repeat these cycles. That power program we've discovered, hoping that people are getting the foundation of how all of this connects, because every show we've done for the last 6 weeks now has been connecting and building on, unpacking more and more of those layers of the onion, per se. But this is kind of where we're at here now, and this part that he's bringing up here now is propaganda, gaslighting. They want to pretend that nobody even knows who Pierre or Poilievre is, and so it's there. These numbers couldn't be possible. This is projection by the establishment gaslighting machine in order to make people think that Trudeau's the guy.
Well, here's the difference. Justin Trudeau was born into the palace. He was literally born while his father was prime minister on Christmas Day, 1971. He's been in the public spotlight pretty much ever since. So, of course, people are going to know him. 1 in 3 Canadians not knowing the leader of the official opposition. That's not great for Poilievre, but it's not horrible, especially when you look at how Trudeau's potential successors would fare. We've all heard all the conversations about should Trudeau leave, will he leave, who is running to replace him. Well, Abacus showed Canadians photos of those people. Here's how they fared. Let's pull it up right now. Chrystia Freeland, 61% could not say who this person was when shown a photo. Melanie Joly, 80%, had no clue who she was. Blake Lively, maybe? Maybe. I mean, look, that's a compliment, but they don't know that she's the foreign affairs minister. Anita Anand, 81% couldn't name her. Mark Carney, the apparent savior of the Liberal Party of Canada, 93%, no idea who he was. Sean Fraser, the housing minister, 96%, don't know him. And Dominic LeBlanc, one of Trudeau's most effective, most politically astute ministers, again, just 4% knew who this guy was. If
we're going to be talking a little bit about Mark Carney in amongst Trudeau's taking advantage of crisis. And you'll hear Mr. LeBlanc's name mentioned in there as well, because Mr. Carney is now getting the Mr. LeBlanc treatment that also Mr. Morneau before both of them got. And so we're going to dive into a little bit of Trudeau's taking advantage of crises.
Pierre Poilievre is in trouble with 1/3 of Canadians not being able to say who he was by looking at a photo of him. The replacements for Trudeau are in far worse shape. Look, the polling is not good for Trudeau and the Liberals. It hasn't been for a long time. And Liberals need to come to grips with that reality, as opposed to casting about it fake stories that claim that Poilievre is doing even worse than their guy. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Share this on social media.
So I just want to backtrack this to this clip here, and I'm going to take a screenshot of this just so that I can add this to the Substack tomorrow for everybody. This is mainstream media gaslighting 101, pretending that Pierre is this useless vote because nobody knows him, but yet the some of the people in the running, like Mark Carney, can't even be named by 93% of the population. So that makes any of this really tough to believe. So now we're going to get into why some of this is really tough to believe. Sorry, there we go. Huh. Weird stuff, I'm telling you. Okay, lost audio. It should be back there now. It's going to be a 30-second delay. But I get to use the left wing against the right wing while they're pointing fingers at the opposition. They're still pointing fingers at themselves because they're doing all the exact same thing. Somebody throw a thumbs up there when the sound comes back. It should be back any second. I don't think that there's anything else. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it all good from Brian's dogs. Should be back. Yeah, I'm good now. So yeah, this is really weird. I was late tonight again because my software would not let me go live. Same as yesterday. So really weird sound cinema. Should be back in just a second for you. Try refresh. But yeah, this is almost like taking candy from a baby when it gets to use the left against the right or the right against the left. But these guys know the game, and Michelle Rempel-Garner knows the game. And although I think that she is dirty and dark and sold out, all of those things, it's interesting her statements about Mr. Carney and the situation. Justin Trudeau, you guys have probably seen the clip where he was asked about replacing Chrystia Freeland with Mr. Carney, and he goes on to babble about how he's been approaching Mr. Carney for years, and about coming into politics, blah, 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 blah. You guys know the drill on that, but that is part of the game, and we're going to talk about that. By notionally offering Mr. Carney the finance minister role, Oh yeah, I've been hounding him for years. It would be great if Canada needs experienced leaders like him. Mr. Trudeau is actually clipping Mr. Carney's wings. Mr. Carney has been in the rumor mill to challenge for the leadership of the Liberal Party and the Prime Minister's seat in the upcoming election. We all know Mr. Carney is one of the dankest, nastiest, stinkiest globalists in the swamp of Canada. But Mr. Carney is now in a position, the same position that Mr. Morneau was in before he got into politics. And Mr. LeBlanc ended up in his position. Both Morneau and LeBlanc ended up in their positions within the Trudeau Liberal government because of the exact same play, the same ploy. Now, if Mark Carney does not take the job, it's easy for Trudeau's leakers to characterize Mr. Carney to potential Liberal supporters as opportunists who don't want to do the heavy lifting of governing when the chips are down. He's not going to be a team player. It also forces the media to ask whether he'd take the job. And if he does take the job, it forces Carney to take on some of Trudeau's water. And that's nothing Trudeau loves more than somebody else carrying the water for him. Putting him in the same situation as the other, the more preferred by Team Trudeau, Dominic LeBlanc, Melanie Joly, the top contenders, the heavy hitters for the Liberals' job. Either way, Trudeau has undoubtedly made it more difficult for Mr. Carney to continue to have a toe in multiple worlds. He can't continue to swan around in some of the plum roles he has if it looks like he's going to leave them for a formal political role. So it's shit or get off the pot time for Mr. Carney. And I think that is exactly the gamesmanship that's going on here. This is Trudeau protecting his ass. They don't have the ability within the Liberal Party to recall a leader. So this is him taking out the competition, the potential replacements, and putting them on the spot. And if they don't commit, they're not team players. And if they do commit, well, then they're not going to be in a position to run against him. So I've got a clip pulled up here from Scoop Canada. I'm only going to play a couple of seconds of this to kind of give you the this is the gotcha moment for what is Trudeau doing while the entire universe, the entire known universe, is consumed with what's happened in the United States and what's going on there. This, guys, does not bode well out of Mr. Trudeau's shenanigans, and you're not going to see this on the mainstream media. And that's what I wanted people to know. Those names, those two people. Oh, shoot. Did I not have that pulled up? My bad. I will make you watch it again.
The controversies generated by Liberal Party members. The Conservative Party's reaction to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's military and Royal Canadian Mounted Police restructuring has been both critical and vocal. Key members have expressed concern over these changes' rapid pace and underlying motives. Several conservative voices argue that the restructuring is more about political optics than genuine reform. They caution that such a swift change in leadership, particularly with the appointment of Lieutenant General Jenny Karenin and Deputy Commissioner Michael Duhaime, may.
That's what I wanted to get to. Top military brass changed. Top police brass changed in an environment where half of his advisors are getting arrested. It is literally the political sacrificial lamb season is fully underway. Still having people having issues with audio. Try no sound and no video. 30-second delay. Sorry, guys. If you're having issues, try re-entering the show, and best way to get this out there to everybody. Try and re-enter the show if you're having issues. Usually a reset will help that out. So we haven't got much more video to go through here, so hopefully we don't get too many more interruptions. So the next thing that I'm going to be covering here, guys, is we talked about it a couple of days ago. Seems to be more information coming in to show that I'm probably going to be correct when I'm bringing up what is one of the next psyops coming along, and this is going to be it. Peter Sweden's reporting McDonald's in Australia is now cutting down on breakfast time because of an egg shortage. The egg shortage is because they have slaughtered massive numbers of chickens due to bird flu. Here we go. I cannot disagree with that whatsoever on Mr. Peter Sweden's analysis. And by the way, you can find Mr. Peter Sweden on the contributor page of the Wendy Bell Radio Network as well. I'm telling you, those are some hardcore patriots that are gathering some of the best, bravest journalists out there to give them platforms. So the next thing that I wanted to bring up is in the vein of exactly that, the buzzard bug that's coming along. This is a report from Camus, however you enunciate that, but it looks as though H5N1, also known as buzzard bug, might just be the next pandemic. We knew that. I'll see if I can get James Roguski on tomorrow to give us an update. The WHO is back in full action this month. Again, more of this, international globalist shenanigans, taking advantage of the crisis that they themselves are manufacturing. But then the globalists are planning to unleash, thanks in parts to a $9.5 million grant Mr. Gates Foundation awarded the University of Wisconsin, one of many that he donates for exactly this kind of thing. I did a deep dive for Wendy Bell last year on that, and how many places this guy donates to medical research. That is blood curdling. But yeah, to make this buzzard bug transmissible to humans and mammals. This is what we're researching. They want this capability. A project of Peter McCullough tweeted that the Gates Foundation gave the $9.5 million to UW-Madison and principal investigator. I can't even say that. I can't even pronounce those names, but Kawakoa to modify, possibly through gain-of-function tampering, the buzzard bug so it will preferentially recognize human-type receptors and transmit efficiently in mammals, much like the bat bugs, which we now know were modified in a lab to jump from bats to humans. This one infects birds in its natural state. Building upon the research of Ron, who previously modified the buzzard bug to become airborne transmissible in ferrets, University of Madison, Wisconsin-Madison, Kawakoa research provides 2 additional mutations that are needed to make the Egyptian buzzard bug produce variants that have mammalian transmissibility features. So they've turned it into the Cadillac of bugs. So this indicates the Gates Foundation funded bioterrorist-like activities involving buzzard bugs and providing blueprints for other bad actors who may want to create a bioweapon, according to Mr. McCullough, and that was as of June 17th of this year. So once again, guys, I really hate being correct on all of this stuff, but to me it is so blatantly obvious, and all I really want people to do is to just understand and be warned, be prepared, so that you have the opportunity to go and connect with your local farmers and do what you need to do to prepare yourself. Bryce, our financial whisperer on Fridays, I have a tough time restraining him because he's the guy that looks at the financial world, and when he turns his head from there to look at me, the only thing that he wants to talk about is get prepared. That's kind of almost a crisis response. But this is where it's going to start to get a little bit disturbing as to as we see some of the things that come part and parcel with these guys when they are implementing all of this stuff. They depend massively on the propaganda, projection, gaslighting, astroturfing, all of those things, whatever you want to describe it. In this article, I found incredibly disturbing, simply because this was those guys identifying and suggesting a new plan, more marketing. Pharmas are underutilizing social media to communicate with doctors and patients. I'm like, what? Say what? Pharma companies aren't taking full advantage of the captive audiences. That's a key phrase in this article. The reason our entire society is attempting to navigate and function from a state of heightened trauma, hypervigilance, reactionary positions, why everybody is so emotionally charged, is because you have been a captive audience. This is no different than what they would do in Guantanamo, where they would lock you in a cell and blast you with whatever they wanted you to memorize for 6 months straight. So you come out of that cell knowing absolutely nothing but what they've been programming you. So this is the advantage of the captive audiences that they are encouraging, that can be found on various social media platforms, according to doctors, have become experts in the space. And we know a few of those monsters is the only, I cannot call them doctors or experts, although that, you know, the ones that are on the opposite side, the ones that are working for the pharma companies, they are straight out monsters, and they have the high ground. They have the support of pharma and the governments. But, you know, when we first started in this platform, What's Up Canada, was the beginning, I believe, of the beer bug resistance. We started interviewing doctors before anybody else did, before anybody else even had considered interviewing an opposing doctor. I think we had 9 interviews and went on to be a Doctor Talk series of more than 50 episodes of people resisting. And, you know, you guys deserve a huge amount of credit in developing this resistance to that beer bug. Started here, but wouldn't have gotten anywhere without all of you. I got a comment over on Wimkin from Jerry Kruger. He lost 22 channels on YouTube. You know, that's what it was like for me when I first started with the Doctor Talks and bringing the truth. And these guys are suggesting more of it. In a survey of healthcare providers representing more than a dozen specialties by the physician influencer marketing agency Medfluencers, didn't we talk about those guys too? The government medical influencers that get paid exorbitant numbers of your tax dollars to take full advantage of the captive audiences and program people into compliance. Well, nearly 90% said they believe the pharma industry is underutilizing social media as a method of communication. You guys tired? You guys tired yet? I mean, what they're basically saying here is no longer will every single TV commercial be pharma based. It's going to take over social media as well, if it hasn't already to some extent. They believe that there is far more room for growth on social media, which is going to make y'all want to avoid all of that and hopefully just spend more time on What's Up Canada. For one, they suggested that patients may be getting a significant portion of their health information from online consent. I think that's probably reflectively accurate, because anybody that did not submit themselves to the medical experimentation was likely getting their information from online. As 85% of doctors surveyed said they'd had patients mention social media posts during their appointments. Patients are on social media and they trust the content. I'll take that as a compliment. It's up to us as HCPs to provide accurate and engaging information to combat misinformation. There's the rub. There's the sales pitch, the programming that they want us to understand. We're now in misinformation. Although 85% of the doctors and the people that trust our content would probably disagree that it is misinformation, because any of the people that have followed us and didn't take part have no regrets. So which side is actually misinformation? I'll leave that for everybody else up to decide. So Medfluencer's president of information said in a statement, it's time for pharma to step up. Patients and HCPs are here. That should make us run cold. So this goes on here for a little bit more on the how they're just not doing enough. They're, and it's a disservice to us. They're not promoting enough, and they can do better. They can do better with more social media content to try to flood us out and drown us. Drown us out of the media space, right? And this is something that kind of slipped through the news cycle. It didn't really get much play, but I think given what we just heard and learned, this should be of a going concern. If they're planning to jack up their presence on social media to flood out our trusted misinformation, according to them, this is a report that was just released that I think people should be aware of given their plan. So June 24th, the Judiciary Committee of the Administrative State Regulatory Reform and Antitrust, led by Chairman Thomas Massey, Republican from Kentucky, I believe, released an interim staff report titled Politics, Private Interests, and the Biden Administration's Deviation from Agency Regulations in the COVID-19 Pandemic. What other nation deviated from established, long-proven, reliable, and trusted processes? You guessed it, Canada did. And this is the actual PDF, guys. 623 pages long of this report from the U.S. House of Representatives. I'm absolutely going to make sure that this report is in the Substack tomorrow morning. This is the ammunition for the resistance. This is the ammunition for the lawsuits and the cases. Canada and the U.S. is almost exactly the same, although our institutions are not connected. The processes are very, very similar, and it's literally going to be up to the people to hold everybody to account on this. But basically, this is saying that yep, the Biden regime weaponized their weaponized the event is in essence what they are saying. They deviated from all accepted processes. To put it bluntly, they went rogue. They literally went rogue. Both of our governments went rogue, decided to take everything into their own hands and implement unelected ideologies stemming directly from unelected entities in Geneva. Absolutely crooked enterprise through and through, 100%. And they got caught. And the mainstream media is not telling you about this report. Nobody, not in the US or in Canada, is talking about this report. And again, this is that, while everybody's looking at the biggest news story of our generation, and there's more. When that happens, there's stuff going on they do not want us to see, and that is, in my opinion, the collapse of the cabal. 100%. It is dying. It is collapsing. We are seeing it happen real time, and they are still trying to keep us compartmentalized, captivated audiences to only absorb what they want us to absorb. And the writing is on the wall. I believe it's over for these guys. I've got an entertaining story I was going to pull up next. It was a little out of sequence, but I'm not going to do that. I've got a short clip here I'll make sure the volume is up on this one. Just kind of a refresher of what happened in Davos this January that changed the game. Everything changed the game in January of this year, and we're going to build on that a little
Annual
bit.
meeting of the World Economic Forum are faced with a daunting range of global challenges. Worsening conflicts, worsening climate change, a weak global economy, fears over artificial intelligence, attacks on commercial shipping in the Red Sea. In its report published Wednesday, the summit organizers said disinformation is the biggest short-term risk.
The potential impact on elections worldwide over the next 2 years is significant, and that could lead to elected governments' legitimacy being put in question. And this, in turn, could, of course, threaten democratic processes, lead to further social polarization, riots, strikes, or even intrastate violence.
The summit takes place against the backdrop of two major wars in Ukraine and Gaza. Among those due in Davos are the Israeli President Isaac Herzog, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Chinese Premier Li Qiang, and US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Alongside political leaders will be hundreds of the world's most powerful chief executives. Critics say their wealth has increased while billions are getting poorer.
Across the world, people are feeling extraordinary hardship. And at the same time, there's a few sprinting off at the very top into the distance, and some of them will be in Davos. And it is, yes, a space for dialogue, for important discussions, even for holding political and business leaders to account. It's why organizations like Oxfam.
This is where I disagree with this gentleman. Davos is not a place for disagreement or holding businesses or governments to account. Davos exists to enhance and entice and establish the relationship of governments and corporations. That is the merger of the corporate in the state. That is where the magic of fascism and the implementation that comes afterward is handled at the municipal level. These are the brain children behind the new WEF, Fourth Reich World International Rules-Based Order. That's the fascism that happens in Davos. It's 100%. That's all it's about. That's all it exists for, is to extract our wealth. And now here we are seeing exactly that. The rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer.
Oxfam take part. But it's also not an international democratic space in which, transparent, accountable decisions are being made.
Summit organizers say it's vital to bring together political and business leaders.
So we're going to stop that. That's kind of the end of that anyway. But it's like the ski resort trip, the team building space. They dream up the policy in Geneva and in New York, and then they go to Davos and they bring in a bunch of hookers. They make everybody compromise, get them with pictures and evidence. They pull the old Epstein trick on them, and then they send them back to their countries to implement their delusional agendas. And that's kind of what Davos is. Now I'm going to pull up this other slightly longer. No, this is going to run me way too long, guys. I'll add this other clip in, and I encourage people to go and check it out themselves a little bit later. I'll pull it up here. We'll play just a minute or two of it, but I really want to get into the grand finale of the information that I wanted to make sure that y'all got here tonight. Where were the Russians when you needed them? And that would be inciting violence. I would much rather pray and wait for the asteroids. Where's the asteroids when we need them? Can't count on the aliens. They drive by, lock the doors. But we could sure use an occasional lucky asteroid. I'll say that. Freeland is a frequent flyer to Davos. She sits on the board. She is Klaus's illegitimate left hand. Ali's dad. Yeah, I'm going to bring that up right to Chicken Louie, actually, right after this one. I'm going to talk about that. But this is
the only way. This will be the only way to prove you've legally They have essentially said that this is the only way, this will be the only way to prove you have legal identity. And so if you don't participate in that system, as far as the state or the, the private sector is concerned, you don't exist. So by not participating in that system, you're inherently excluded from the economic system and really essentially everything. It's going to be a problem, reaction, solution type of situation where they've already made the solution. They've already developed what they want to be the new financial governance system after this new Bretton Woods moment. They just need some sort of big event on the scale of World War II or some large event that's equally disruptive in order to be like, all right, now it's time for a new financial governance system.
About a year ago, while speaking at the global
So I'm going to leave it with that. They need a big war in order to implement their new system, and if you don't take part in the system, you will not exist. Everything that we've been chirping about here for quite some time. She goes into great depth there. That's Whitney Webb. I have been trying. I would love to get her on a program. I will keep trying. But she's 100% on point, and that is very much a 15-minute interview worth watching. No, I don't want you to feel bad, Billy, about wrong wording. I just, here's the thing. If you look on anywhere on social media now, anybody, there's a lot of lefties that are hitting the unemployment line for the words that they used on social media. I was hearing from a podcaster in the US, friend of mine today, where they've now deplatformed him on YouTube for his followers' comments. Right? This is where it's getting and it's not right. How can I be held responsible, for example, for the comments that people make? But they will. Right, wrong, or otherwise, they will. So this is where I can do better. I have a bigger vocabulary than the left, and I just want to help others not get themselves into that same predicament, because they will come for you through what should be free use of our language is no longer a position where we have free use of our language. But on the story of Davos, Ali's dad did bring it up there a minute ago. I'm going to bring this up. It's a Substack article. This one's written by Jordan Schnatzel, I guess. The dossier is his Substack. I'll include a link there as well. I'm just going to pull up this one section here and read this to you guys. So this is a book called Deaths at Davos by Thierry Malleret, who was the co-author with Klaus Schwab in his COVID-19, The Great Reset book, and also the follow-up book, the second book. So he co-authored two books with Klaus, but now he writes this one, and now he's claiming that this is a fiction. So the semi-fictional landscape serves merely as a means to provide Malleret the cover necessary to tear into the Davos class and even select individuals who are integral to the WEF. For instance, a character called the Don is clearly meant to represent Klaus Schwab. The Don, according to Malleret, is obsessed with the prestige of the WEF's annual meeting in Davos and abhors the idea of outsiders being allowed to ruin his spectacle. Sounds pretty familiar. Are on point, despite the unbelievably hostile circumstances that are depicted surrounding the annual meeting. Klaus, or the Don, is determined to press on without hesitation. The annual WF conference is described as his baby, his creature, the love of his life. You look at Klaus Schwab and you have to know that is exactly his legacy that he is trying to protect. He comes from the old guard of death merchants like George Soros, right? So I left the mustache man out of that. But anyway, Deaths at Davos is a tale about the 2024 annual meeting in Davos. But in this story, the confab is disrupted by a murderous group of shadowy, non-conforming outsiders with unclear motives, leaving the Davos class in disarray and sheer horror. Well, I think that's kind of what happened, given that they rearranged the last 50 years of their agenda in order to make two things top priority: rebuilding trust and taking care of the biggest threat to the world, the misinformation and disinformation. Now, yeah, I'd say they're in a state of shock and disarray for sure. Despite the savagery, the Don does everything possible to press forward with the meeting, given that nothing seems to matter to him other than putting on the show. It quickly becomes clear that Schwab, or the Don, has cast ideology aside, now holds the annual meeting to ensure that Davos serves as the ultimate public, private, governmental, business, and personal launching pad for the global elite. 100% on point. This is a I want to call it, the old expression is the rats fleeing the ship. This feels a little bit more like a coming clean, saying, I came, I saw, I watched, but I don't necessarily want to agree or believe, and so I'm going to warn you instead. And see, I'm not the bad guy. When they come for the Don, I'm not the bad guy. See, I tried to warn you. That's the sense that I get from this book. But I'm going to look for it. I do want to read it just to see if there's anything that we hadn't noticed or come across. But to get cut down to the chase, the meat and potatoes of some of the insanity, this disinformation being the biggest global risk sets up the next story that I want to talk about. And this one gets a little bit more chilling. Has anybody heard about Garm, the Globalist Alliance for Responsible Media? When this first came across my radar a couple of days ago, I went looking, and I wanted to look on the Global Alliance for Responsible Leadership on the World Economic Forum page. This is what I got. Access denied. I don't have permission. I sent this to a couple of my tech guys, and they just looked at me and go, oh my goodness, they have you personally blocked from accessing the World Economic Forum website to research this global alliance. So I started looking at just a little bit deeper, in what I could access. This kind of standard operating procedure here in Canada. As a journalist, you're only allowed access to approved information. But what is Garm? The Global Alliance for Responsible Media is an advertiser-led cross-industry effort to remove harmful content from ad-supported digital media in the interest of protecting consumers and safeguarding advertiser rights on supporting suitable media content. So what they're saying is the advertisers that spend all of their money advertising on Facebook, Google, YouTube, and all of these places are demanding an alliance under the World Federation of Advertisers to basically implement the Online Harms Act, aka Bill C-63, which is the further silencing of any and all unapproved voices. So this is what they did not want me to see. I was not allowed to access the World Economic Forum's page for this, but I did get a chance to find a little bit more information about who this global alliance is. I haven't had a chance to spend a lot of time on this site yet, actually digging into the minutia of it. I'm sure it's loaded with cringe, but we'll just go over the front page here a little bit. I'm not going to keep you guys too much over the hour today. A couple more points to make, and then we'll leave you with it. But uncommon industry collaboration. Interesting. To improve digital safety. Garm is a global alliance for responsible media, a cross-industry initiative established by the World Federation of Advertisers to address the challenge of harmful content on digital media platforms and its monetization via advertising. See, they can't monetize on us. They're not allowed to. I'm not allowed to earn an income. They're not allowed to put their advertisements on the on any of my content. So this is, when advertisers and companies want to go to Facebook and say, well, we need platforms to run our ads on, Mark says, well, there aren't any. So they need to set up a new regulatory for that and implement Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act, to make sure that they're not going to get caught in lawsuits for having their advertising across somebody like mine's platforms. So this is where the Facebook is demanding that I adhere to their legislation and get accreditation from our government before I'll be allowed to stream, so that they can monetize on my platform, which is them wanting to make money off of my ass and me giving them the giant one of these. And this is the agency that's making this enforcement happen. So Garm was launched at Cannes in the summer of 2019 and has been working hard to highlight the changes needed for advertisers to feel more confident about advertising on social media. As of November 2019, Garm is a flagship project of the World Economic Forum platforms for shaping the future of media, entertainment, and culture. There it is. The globalist Stasi in action created an organization to monitor and implement DEI, ESG into the advertising space. That's what this is about. DEI, ESG, compliance, and all of the corporations that are being held over the barrel. They're going, oh, we don't want to get caught in that trap, so we need corporations to this regulatory body to help us come into alignment. And we talked about some of those other companies over the last, these nonprofits and lobbyist groups last week. I introduced you guys to a bunch of those again. And here's, this is what these Federation of Advertisers do. You read through some of these articles. It's literally, you have to have a toxic protection. Like, you seriously wear your armor of God when you are looking at this net zero announcement, global framework to measure media's carbon emissions. I'm breathing too much while I'm doing a podcast. I don't know. This is these, how deep these organizations have gotten into legitimizing their own insanity. So when I was digging in to these guys, there was so many more questions that I had, like, who are these guys? Why wasn't I allowed to look at them? And then, finding a little bit more, or they're not purposely evil. They just have, dangerous abilities and feral natures. They're talking about Garm. But I scrolled down here and I got to the point where, who is the owner of Global Advertisers? A guy named Sanjeev Gupta. That is Mr. Sanjeev Gupta. He's the CEO of Liberty House Group. I think a few people will recognize that one. He is the guy that destroyed the steel industry in the UK. And he is the executive chairman of the global what do they call themselves? Yeah, the World Federation of Advertisers. So these are the people that are stacking the decks. See here that Sanjeev was an Indian-born British businessman and founder of the Liberty House Group. He's the CEO and chairman of GFG Alliance, an international conglomerate that operates primarily in the steel and mining industries, and probably a good friend of David Cameron's as well. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a quick look into some of the most heinous people and organizations and lobbyists taking part in Canada. Great point there, Billy. Yeah, I'm glad you got so much out of our show yesterday, Billy, because these are the guys that absolutely endorse the Garms. These are the guys that, Trudeau, I got a problem with misinformation in Canada. McKinsey, oh, well, we got a solution for you. We bring in these guys. They will direct and drive the social media campaigns and help the lobbyists and influencers and re-educate the captive audience. and we will solve your disinformation, misinformation problem, Mr. Lord Farquaad, and it'll only cost you $107 billion, right? So yeah, the purveyors of comfortable lies. That's so much of that. They want to prevent another Budweiser for sure, guys. So that was that was tonight's show in a nutshell. We still did go a little bit over, but I wanted people to understand who organizations like this are. This is the equivalent of the McKinsey, and I can guarantee that they're connected at some point. And this is why I put all of this stuff in Substack, because some of you guys I know that will go out there and you will dig into this. And although I haven't found that connection to McKinsey quite yet, there's going to be enough information in there for everybody to absolutely go and dig out and find some of those things on their own. And I'm always looking forward to hearing your guys' feedback. You know, I know there's some people out there that are way better at or have more time or resources for doing deep dive research, and my abilities are limited. Oh, DEI got bad press after the Trump security event. Well, you know, there's more to that. There's absolutely more to that, and I really wanted to stay out of that, because why do I? That's kind of my thing. If everybody else is covering it, Wayne's not, because there's enough people doing it. I don't need to. But as the time goes by here, when the emotions settle down a little bit, I'm able to fish more and more out of it, and I've got some opinions that I will bring to the table on that, some from personal experience. But there's more to this DEI thing. It's apparently the entire security team was had the bench shortened, and they were given half the officers and not the usual detail. They were replaced. So there's more to this. I know that this was not a natural event, and I feel bad for the people that did die. Mr. Corey, the firefighter, he's the name that needs to be remembered. That shooter, I feel bad for that shooter's family. That was a kid that was absolutely used, abused, manipulated. He was not all there. He was sacrificed. That kid was sacrificed when he should have been helped. So as much as he deserved what he ultimately got, when you take a life, karma's a bitch, especially when you do it with ill intent. But at the end of the day, he's just another victim of this system, the manufactured division, the destruction of our societies. He's just another victim in a different capacity, and he got sucked into it. But at the end of the day, these guys are all revolving. Absolutely, Carly. The DEI it's everywhere. We looked at Deloitte the other day. 100% they're behind all of this. Deloitte is another management advisory firm like McKinsey, and we really don't have a grasp yet on how deeply they are entrenched in the swamp. Does absolutely run deep and wide, particularly here in Canada, because we have we've got a growing independent media space, but it's still got some evolving to do. We've got more work to do in the development of our investigative journalists here in Canada, and it's difficult once you do investigate a story to get it out past the gatekeepers and the digital demons in the avatar space. And so there's a lot going on. DEI, no matter, and I'll say this broad blanket. DEI, anybody that professes ESG, DEI, SDGs, any of these things should be equally loathed at the same level as the Mockingbird mercenary media. All right, guys, that's it for today. Tomorrow will be guest night. I'll leave that as a bit of a surprise until probably sometime tomorrow. But I hope you guys got some meat and potatoes out of this, some news and not noise. I love y'all. It's never been more important to support independent journalism. This is the link for Substack, guys. It's free to subscribe. There is an option to donate or to contribute $8 a month. And when I'm doing 20 shows a month, $8 a month is about 50 cents a show. If this show is worth 50 cents a night to you guys, $8, you guys can do that there. That will help me out immensely. I encourage everybody to, again, one more time, smash that like, double check that subscribe, help us get this out there. We depend on you. This is symbiotic. We cannot do this without you. They will not let us. Support your independent journalism in whatever capacity you can. The funding is what they need more than else. When we were able to reach 500,000 people, it was easy to get donations and pay the bills. When we're only reaching 500 people, it's a little more difficult. So support your local journalists, whoever that might be. If this is a journalist that you support, that is the fastest way to help me keep this show free for everybody else out there. So I love you all. Stay Canadian, stay mighty, my fellow friends, patriots, and hostages. We will see you tomorrow. And I'm going to do something this coming Sunday to have a little one-on-one with you guys off the record, off the books. Let me know on actually the best way to do that, guys. If you want to take part in that, send me an email. It's not going to be advertised on social media. I'm not going to be putting posts and links out. It's going to be one-on-one, off the record, with me to talk to you guys about what the bottom line in my heart is with the people that I do have associated with this as far as for businesses, why I support the people I do. It's critically important for us to take advantage of these partnerships now while we can. So if you want to get in on that, send me an email, contact@whatsupcanada.org, and we will see you tomorrow.